Good to see you.
You too.
Let's see what we got for lunch. Oh look, a nice little bit of beverage still left in here. Fresh. Still some barbecue sauce left for lunch. Fresh. Got a lot left there. Oh, the main course. Look at that. Those beans, still fresh.
You sure those are fresh?
Nothing tastes better than free.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're gonna talk about when frugality can go too far. I did a video last week on why I'm quitting frugality. And that video was a bit deceiving in the sense that while I am foregoing my super lean fire, frugal fire budget, I am still in many senses very value conscious and in some senses frugal. I've forsaken my frugal ways and I'm now gonna live a luxurious lifestyle that's focused on having the best of everything. And I wanted to make this video because on this channel, I've documented being one of the most frugal early retirees. But we're gonna talk about why I'm scaling back on the frugality. But in this video, we're gonna talk about specific examples about how frugality can cost you time, money, opportunities, relationships, and moreover, I'm gonna go into examples of where being frugal is just downright the wrong path to choose, with specific examples of where it has cost me a ton of rapport. It's just been a bad experience overall, and I'm gonna share where you don't wanna be frugal. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you jumped in and gave it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the comments. So hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it, and if you disagree, hell, hit that thumbs down. Engagement, any engagement is good engagement, so I'll take it. Okay, so let's get right into it, guys. The first thing on my list I wanted to talk about was how spending too little can affect you negatively, both from an experiential point of view, from a lost opportunities point of view. You can imagine when you don't get the dream job. And I'll give you an example. It's one of my 7 things that I've thought through. So I thought of 7 examples where in my life personally, I have just gone too far on frugality. One example, I went into an interview when I was in business school. I went into a business interview with a suit that had a rip in it and a tie that had a stain on it. Now, I didn't actually know about the tie until after, so that wasn't entirely my fault, but I'm so frugal that I didn't have things dry cleaned, I didn't have things inspected, and I went into the interview with the wrong clothes. And I didn't end up getting that job, and I'm so thankful that I didn't because I got a way better job on graduation. But the point is the same. I ended up getting a better suit, and so maybe that's part of why I got the better job. But the point was I cheaped out, went with a suit that wasn't up to par. I should have dressed for the job that I wanted, and it cost me the job. Another thing I want to talk about is, okay, so this happens a lot, and I want to level with you guys. I see it all the time on social media. People are lining up for like 6 hours to get sales on Boxing Day or sales on, like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. People are lining up for like 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours to save 50 bucks. Now, to save $50 for 6 hours, what is the math on that, guys? That's $5 an hour. That's a terrible use of your time. I've been guilty of it too. I've waited in line for an hour before at a gas station to save 6, 7, 8 cents off a liter, which if you do the math on that is a couple of dollars for an hour's time. That's ridiculous. I've waited in line for free pizza before at a pizza store for like 2 hours. And thankfully in that example specifically, I was with friends. So we were just hanging out, having a good time in line. It wasn't necessarily a net loss, but in many cases it can be a net loss. And that's why I talk on this channel about the FIRE movement, right? And when we talk about financial independence and retiring early, how anyone can retire in 5 years by getting control of their spending, figuring out how to spend less, earn more money, and then maximize the difference. It is important to be frugal, but it can be taken too far. And I've joked about this before on my channel, and I'm gonna joke about it some more, but today is about a serious topic. It's serious, guys. You can't be too frugal. You've gotta say, okay, sometimes you need to spend. Sometimes it's okay to dress for the role. Sometimes it's okay, for instance, I get asked to go out for business meetings and the lunch might be $50 or $100. And in some cases, I even pay for the lunch with the people I'm with because it builds rapport. It helps develop a good base for a business relationship. And in those cases, if I was being frugal and I said no to going out entirely to save myself, $50 on my meal, that wouldn't be entirely net positive. In fact, I could earn maybe a couple $1,000s off of that dinner through that relationship, maybe even $1 million, you never know. And so you're closing your mind and you're closing your life to opportunity by being too frugal. So don't be that. Furthermore, many times in my friend groups, I have been ostracized for being too frugal. I'm known to say, hey, water's all around on me, right? Like that's like a joke that people know with me. I am that most frugal guy in my entire group. And in some ways that's a positive thing, especially because of the success I've had becoming a multimillionaire. People know that my frugality allowed me to save and invest and build wealth. And that is a clear-cut path. Well, you might not be able to control what you're earning, you can always control what you're spending. And so if you make 50, 60 grand a year and you know you can save 80% of that, which is basically what I was doing for a long time, several years of doing that builds massive amounts of wealth, especially if you invest it smartly. So you can have 6 figures, even 7 figures in wealth over doing this for a 5 or 10 year period. So living this lifestyle of frugality is totally good on one hand, but can be taken way too far. So we're gonna talk again about some more examples. I went to Brazil in 2014 on my honeymoon. Found a lot of frugal hacks along the way to save a ton of money. We did it on the cheap. We in fact found our flights through points. We had to do 4 layovers, which was a brutal, I think we're almost 30 hours of flights. That's an example of where maybe frugality is too far. In my case, at that time in my life, it wasn't that bad. We actually enjoyed the trip, and so I didn't mind having the layovers to get free flights. But in Brazil, I found a hotel online that had decent reviews. It seemed like it was great, and it was really cheap. They had a sale on for 80% off. I'm like, wow, we can stay for $30 USD a night right in Rio de Janeiro. And that was an example of it looked great on the internet, and we get there and we check in, and no word of a lie, we're up on the 9th floor, and it's supposed to be overlooking the jungle with monkeys. And we get to our room and the power's out in the hallway, elevator doesn't work, and there's just a light flashing at the end of the hallway. It looked like something straight out of a horror movie. The worst thing I could have ever done. My wife's like, we need to get out of here right now. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be okay. We have nowhere else to go. We have to stay here. So we endured the whole night. I swear the hotel room was haunted. The phone rang 3 times that night at random intervals and no one was there. Very creepy. We disconnected the phone even, and I swear it still rang. The power went off and on. Very, very sketchy hotel. Big mistake. To save $100, not worth it. Even for me, even for Frugal Mike, sometimes when you cheap out, you lose the quality. And that's the thing I want to talk about is in this frugality movement that's going on, a lot of people are scrimping on quality, and that's a mistake. I'm going to give you an example of socks. I bought cheap socks the other day, and in fact, I'm actually wearing them right now. So let me show you. Put the sock on today, look what happened. I was ripping it over my foot and it ripped. I pulled the sock on and it ripped. Cheap, crappy Walmart socks on discount. Mistake. Probably should get quality socks. Literally one use out of this pair of socks. That is a terrible frugal decision. In fact, I'll have to buy more socks now. So I've spent maybe $2 on socks instead of $10 on socks, and I've lost the entire $2. It's better to think, what is the useful life of this item? If you can spend $250 on a pair of shoes that might last you your whole life, or you could spend $50 on a cheap pair of shoes that last you 6 months, you're much better off over the long term buying the quality item. It is the frugal thing to do, is the most economical thing to do. So frugality can be taken too far and it's a bad thing. So don't go there, don't be that person. Other things, just to save face, don't go to Walmart or Tim Hortons or various other restaurants and pick up napkins and ketchup packets. It's the worst when you go to someone's house and they hand you ketchup packets out of their fridge because they don't want to buy ketchup. Don't be that person. That's a frugal mistake. And sometimes you have to show face in the workplace. I had 3 nice pairs of pants and 3 nice shirts that I wore to work. And when I was at home, I had ripped jeans on and ripped shirts because it doesn't matter when I'm at home. But there's a time and a place for frugality. And I think to be smart with the FIRE movement and the frugal movement and reach early retirement, you want to be low-key frugal. And so that's where it's really important. I talked about how when you build a lot of wealth, frugality isn't as important. And in my stage in the game now, my passive income well into the 6 figures at this point, a 7 figures wealth. Not bragging, just making the point that if you get to there, frugality isn't really that important. 1 or 2% more on my portfolio growth, it has a much bigger impact on my overall wealth building than trying to scrimp or save. In the beginning of your journey, obviously more important, but keeping low key, I think, is very important with the FIRE movement. You don't want to lose face with fellow bosses or employees or people in your workplace. People out there who are your friends might peg you as that frugal guy, and it might be a negative thing. I can think of one example specifically where I was ostracized for being too frugal. I wasn't invited to a networking event because they said, oh, and not because they didn't like me, the good friends, oh, Mike won't want to go out for $100 sushi. Let's not even bother inviting him. He always says no. That's an example where I lost out on an opportunity because 2 other people went there and they ended up doing a business relationship that if I had been at that dinner, I might have made some more money. So that was an example of sometimes frugality too far, big problem. So anyway, sharing some more stories in this sort of vlog style. I wrote down some other things for instance, eating food off other people's plates. Don't do that. It's it's not hygienic, it's gross, unless it's like a close friend or like, you know, your wife or your husband or something, or boyfriend, girlfriend. That's maybe appropriate, but don't go that far. I can think of examples, and I've done this, where like friends will have a meal, they eat like 2 bites and be like, I'm not gonna have that. And I'd be like, hey, pack that up. Like, do you want that? Like, I'll take that. Probably not a good thing to do, probably too frugal on the spectrum, but things I've definitely done to save money. For instance, parking, like whenever I go downtown, I don't want to pay to park. There's a couple free streets that are 2 kilometers away. I've been late to meetings before because I parked so far away and had to run. I've like just so many times where doing things that are super frugal to save money can cost you more time, which equals money, or actually just cost you more money. One of the times I parked free on that street, it's a 2-hour free parking. The meeting went 3 hours long and I got a $45 ticket. I would have been better off paying the $5 parking than getting the ticket. And so trying to be frugal or cheap costs me more money in the end of the day. So don't make those same mistakes as I do. This hair, I haven't had a hairdresser cut this hair in like 3 years, and I know it's not on point right now. Specifically, it's definitely not. I need to cut my own hair again, but I cut my own hair. And that's something that a lot of people think is kind of crazy. Like, what, you cut your own hair? It's like, yeah, it's okay to cut your own hair. If you guys watch my videos over the last year and a half, go back and check them out. Some of my haircuts have been on point, and it's free. That could be taken too far though, if you're not, for instance, find that when I go to the barber, they never level my sideburns right. I always get scalped, but one time I cut my hair and I butchered it. Like, I literally touched the side of my head by accident, and I made that mistake. At least I had to live with it and learn from it, and now I won't make that mistake twice. But that's something where I was so frugal and it potentially cost me a lot of reputational risk. So time, money, opportunity to make more money and have more things in your life, as well as reputational sort of, I guess, embarrassment or, you know, overall just reputational degrade because you're too frugal. Unless, of course, you're like Jacob Lund Fisker from Early Retirement Extreme, and your brand is like $7,500 a year frugality, and that's okay. Like, my brand is actually that I'm super frugal, and so some of that is actually okay. And my investors on the real estate side, they look at me and they're like, Mike is very frugal. I know that he's going to do right by me and trying to manage that bottom line. So I say on the spectrum, you probably want to be like here. Here's super frugal. Here's like the luxury guy who doesn't even care, just like throwing money around at things. You probably want to be like here. If you're here, you'll probably never build wealth. Unless you want to win the lottery, or you think your business is just going to blow up into the next Facebook. It's very hard. It's a fast way to get wealthy, those people on that side of the spectrum. And so for those people watching who are on that side of the spectrum, who are super like luxury fire and don't care about the bottom line at all, they don't manage their budget, they just throw money out like it's like water, you know, it's whatever. You probably should tone it in a bit. Like, if you're watching this video and you're like, yeah, Mike's too frugal, like finally he's talking about us guys who just love to spend, let's all spend together. I'm not that far. You know, I'm probably somewhere in the middle now. I've kind of ricocheted from being the extreme frugality, living on, you know, Jacob Lund Fisker's Early Retirement Extreme, $7,000, $8,000 a year. I've done that. I've lived that lifestyle. I know I can always do it. If things get tough, instead of going out to having to work a full-time job, I would always prefer to just cut back my budget. And I think that time is more valuable than stuff. And so people know that I will cut back on the stuff. I'll become a full-on minimalist, and I will just do a no-spend 1-year challenge if the recession comes and things get really tight. I'm pretty diversified. I'm gonna be all right. I've planned through some disaster scenarios, but if it were to happen, us frugal folk, we will survive. The key is adaptability. I think at the end of the day, this video is not really about the adaptability, but if you can adapt your lifestyle to fit within your budget, to fit within what you're earning, you'll be just fine. And so as your income increases, guys, as you build more wealth, I wanna see you loosen those purse strings a little bit. I wanna see you loosen the budget. I wanna see you spend a little bit more. So that would be great to see everyone evolve on their journey. And if you're just on this journey right now, you're making 40, 50 grand a year, this is not an excuse for you to start spending. You need to spend less. You need to focus on earning more. You need to maximize those returns on the difference to build a wealthier you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so let's get to it. No. Share how you should spend your money well, but not make the same mistakes that I did. When frugality has gone too far, you know, move to the middle and stop being so frugal. Spend less, earn more, maximize your returns. I already said that, so we can cut this part. That's the video. There you go. How long was that?